How's it going, y'all? Titan Smash MTG, and today we're here to talk about some Jumpstart Historic Horizons. We're going to talk about what this means for the historic format, and just talk about why there's a lot of hoopla and uproar about this kind of thing. There's a lot of people really happy about this set, a lot of people really upset about this set, and a lot of people just kind of scared and unsure of what to think about it. So let's quit yapping, let's talk about this set, let's go. So for those of you unaware, today we got the first official previews of Historic Horizons from Jumpstart. For anybody who didn't play Jumpstart when it was available on MTG Arena in the first place, essentially you get these little mini decks. I think there's like 46 in total. Each one of them have their own little cards in there, and basically you select, I think, 2 different Jumpstart decks, kind of combine those together, and from there make what is essentially like a little sealed pool, and then you play some games with that. The reason why this is causing such an uproar, though, is for the first time ever, well, I guess not the first time ever, for the first time for like a big set release, there will be digital-only cards and digital-only mechanics, which that is a first. This has led to a lot of people been very excited about the possibilities of where this could go in the future, but this has also scared a lot of people because digital-only mechanics, kind of that slippery slope when you start thinking of, okay, well, what's going to happen with actual paper magic then? If we're going to things that work only for digital here, what makes you stop the ball rolling from doing that in other places? Let's talk about this a little bit further. So just to clarify, this is only for the historic format, which is already a digital-only environment. While you could technically play historic in paper, it's never been a paper format. This was created for Arena, by Arena, and this is a digital-only thing. So personally, I'm very okay with this being printed, and I think it's actually a pretty cool idea to have historic-only cards and digital-only cards for this kind of thing. But I'd be lying if I said that this didn't scare me just a little bit here. I started in Paper Magic, as most of you have done. You know, we started in Paper Magic. This is where we got our beginnings at, and that's kind of just the root of the game. How it's been here for 20 plus years now. Now, with Paper Magic existing, it is a great thing. Obviously, it's how we got into the game, but it does come with some kind of things that hold it back a little bit too. Even if you're somebody who loves Paper Magic to death and don't even want to play digital, you have to admit there's some things about Paper Magic that do hold the game back. The biggest of that being card erratas and things of that nature. There's a lot of things, you know, we've had all these kind of bans recently for cards being printed, and there's a little bit too powerful. These are kind of things where they could have just been errata and changed up a little bit without having to ban them, and maybe even just, you know, made it to where we could have still played with those cards. But because of Paper Magic, you can't really afford the errata cards anymore, so because of that, they just have to get banned. Paper Magic kind of stops you from being able to do some of the things like that. Also, there's some mechanics and things we'll talk about here in a little bit, which are now being introduced in this set that you could never really do before because, again, in paper, there was no way to do it, no way to prevent cheating in these kind of things, and it was something that was just not really sustainable when you talk about Paper Magic. So let's talk about these mechanics here now, with the first one being Seek. Seek, it says, which is a digital twist on a tutor effect. Certain cards will allow you to seek a card with specific criteria, randomly pulling one from your library that meets that criteria without shuffling afterwards. And that's the big thing right there. You don't have to shuffle afterwards. There's no way you could do this in paper. I mean, you could technically do it, but there's no way you wouldn't be able to cheat or see your cards or anything like that. So with a digital client, something like Seek all of a sudden works just fine. Don't have to worry about shuffling your library or anything like that. The next mechanic we can talk about here is Perpetually, which is a mechanic that modifies a specific card permanently. Again, this is something that you could do in Paper Magic, but it'd be very, very hard to track. Easy to lose count on these kind of things, whereas digital Magic, you just make the change in the client, you're good to go, it's forever affected on there. Another mechanic we have here is Conjure, which creates a card for you to use out of nowhere. Not a token or a copy, but an actual card that can sit into your hand until you're ready to use it. Again, we can't really make cards out of nowhere in real life Paper Magic, but the digital world we can do this. And as we've seen in the preview here, there's even things like Tropical Island. We're getting dual lands here that can be made out of nowhere and put into your hand. Very, very cool design space. Something you can't do in paper. Now, as I've said multiple times, and I'm probably repeating myself here, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad to this kind of thing. I think exploring this digital design space is actually really cool. Magic is a game that's ever evolving and has a lot of different changes and things going on to it that always is up the ante and make you just think about the game in a different light. I think adding things to a digital format already, again, historic is a digital-only format, so adding digital-only cards to it just kind of makes sense to me. But I see the concern there. You don't want to just ruin the Paper Magic. You don't want to start, you know, implementing this into standard and then start doing that kind of thing. Because at that point, you start moving over into this kind of Hearthstone area and all those players, you know. It's one thing to say that all Paper Magic players should just evolve. That's not fair. That's not true. And people, you know, it's good for the game to evolve, but you do have to take some kind of precautions to it, I guess, because Paper Magic was here first. Now, despite all of your views on whether this is good or whether this is bad as a whole, there's one thing that's pretty universally agreed upon today, and that is reading on how you acquire these cards. This system seems toxic as hell. So to acquire these cards, you have 2 different things you can do. For one, you can play these Jumpstart events, which may or may not be your thing, may or may not be fun. But, you know, if you're not a fan of Jumpstart, you're going to have to force yourself to play Jumpstart to acquire these cards. Or you can use wild cards. But they are introducing 783 cards in the set. Some of them reprints, some of them not. So you're talking, there's no way to get these from packs. There's no way to just buy, this seems very predatory, and especially for a system which already has these economy issues. Arena is very hard to play for a lot of people because you can't afford to put the money into it. Like, I'm a content creator, I do this all the time, and I pay money into this game so I can give you all the most up-to-date content, play with a bunch of different decks, so I don't bore you to death. But it's not it's not even close to free. And now you're implementing this format where it's like, hey, if you want to play with these cards, you're going to have to play a lot of this Jumpstart, which isn't free to enter in the first place, or you're going to have to burn a lot of different wild cards to acquire these cards, and that could actually end up hurting Historic. For one, it's great that we get all these new cards in Historic. This can really shift the meta up, and I do expect this to add a lot of cool, fun things to Historic. But this could actually drive a lot of people off or drive a lot of people away from it, because all of a sudden you see, hey, I'm going to have to spend $100 just to be able to craft this deck now, because Jumpstart introduced so many different cards here that I can't afford. That's going to be a problem for a lot of people, and I can see this being kind of the nail in the coffin for a lot of people who just get a little bit overwhelmed, who decide, hey, you know what? I've implemented a lot of money. I put a lot of money into this game, and now all of a sudden I can't play it anymore because of this. I'm done. I think in the end here, we got a cool idea. I think this is a really neat concept, but there's got to be some better way to acquire these cards and to get them. This is super, super predatory, and Wizards has to know that, right? I mean, there's no way you make this set and make the means of acquiring them be the way they are and not know, hey, we're bleeding our players dry here. So I hope something can be done about that, because this does seem a little bit toxic. I'm excited to see what kind of cards come out here, and normally I would have a lot more enthusiasm about it. As far as the paper side goes, I'm kind of an in-the-moment person, and in the moment, they've not done anything to scare me off of paper or anything like that yet. This is digital cards, come into a digital-only format, and we can leave it at that. If that design space starts creeping out into other places, then that the worry starts to creep in a little bit. But for now, we're getting a bunch of digital cards for a digital-only format, and I'm cool with that. But at what cost? How much do we have to literally pay to get these cards? I guess we'll see. Let me know what you think about this set in the comments. Do you have, are you excited for this? Do you expect this to be something that you can easily acquire? Are you somebody that likes playing the Jumpstart stuff in the first place? Or are you just terrified that hey, I'm about to play these tournaments, I'm about to spend $200 in wild cards just to get these things? A lot of different variables. This is one of the things, this is a hard video to talk about because there's so many different opinions on it. And I think in a way, almost everybody's kind of correct. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can jump for this, and a lot of different outcomes I can see for this set happening. So, I guess we'll see. Let's hold on to the seat of our pants here, baby. Thanks for watching, y'all. Appreciate the support. Let's go.